Today is Monday, the 22nd of June, and coming into the market open today after a long weekend as the market was closed on Friday. The major indices all closed relatively strong, and for the most part, it looks like this is potentially just a momentary correction or a pullback rather. The fact that the S&P closed as an inside day on Thursday is going to be really important in terms of just understanding what the market wants to do. So basically, inside days, I look at them as if the market can accept above an inside day, then that's extremely bullish, and if it accepts below, then it's bearish. So today will definitely be a big day, and coming into the start in the week, I guess it will set the tone for the week in terms of what the S&P decides to do. The Nasdaq actually closed fairly strongly, so I'm kind of leaning towards that camp in terms of strength rather than weakness. The Dow Jones is showing more weakness than strength, though, based on those prior two daily closes. So I'm not super bullish or anything, but for the most part, the long-term trend, the uptrend is still intact. The 10-day and 20-day is still holding relatively strongly. For the IWM, the 10-day dipped slightly below, but for the most part, things are still looking relatively bullish. The VIX is relatively flat as well. The only thing that I'm kind of concerned about is the fact that the dollar index is definitely pushing higher, and based on the FOMC meeting and Fed Chair Walsh's comments, it's potentially looking like it could pave the way for just even stronger dollar. So I don't really know how to interpret that, because it hasn't really been too much of a signal for them. In my opinion, the markets have trended strongly with the dollar in the past, and especially risk assets like Bitcoin. It was one of the reasons why I stopped watching the dollar as much as what I did before, because it just felt like the signal was kind of gone. But it is definitely something to pay attention to, and the fact that it's coming off such a large base, and the moving averages are starting to roll over, flatten, and then potentially roll back up to the upside, or push back up to the upside rather. Is yeah, that's kind of it's definitely a big thing or something significant to look out for. The semiconductor ETFs is making all-time highs again, so clear strength. The SpaceX ETF, on the other hand, is really getting beaten down quite significantly, and it makes sense given that SpaceX is also coming down even more now, which was the real reason that it was selling off initially. But the fact that it started to pull back itself is a real clear sign that risk appetite in space stocks is kind of leaving the market, and the fact that SpaceX is gapping down again into the open is a really big tell of that. On the other hand, not healthcare but biotech stocks are pushing up to all-time highs as well, and it had a nice breakout here on the Wednesday. So potentially a bit of a rotation coming in there, and also biotech likely to benefit from the AI boom, so that also makes sense. And along with the energy ETF, that is coming down alongside with oil and other commodities. So it all makes sense in terms of what these ETFs are showing and what is actually going on with the direct spot asset or spot markets. So Bitcoin is showing some pretty good resilience, I'd say, at these lows. The 10-day has reclaimed the 20-day, and for the most part, these lows are holding for now. And these are, in my opinion, what the bottoms are made of. These kind of slight dip belows, and then a quick test and rejection. These are what bottoms are made of, and the fact that there was so much consolidation here. It started off back in February, so it's about 4 months of consolidation there, and the fact that when it did push lower, it couldn't really go any lower is that's a sign of strength, in my opinion. That's a sign that this may very well be the bottom, and if it's not, then I don't see it going much lower than this anymore. I was back here, I wasn't I wasn't bearish because it was getting beaten down so much. I was bearish on the fact that it had rejected the 200-day and it was lining up with the 2022 fractal in terms of the timing, where it would actually um, align with another leg lower. But the fact, and I was calling for potentially a test on this 50 level, but the fact that this is now played out and price is holding up relatively well for the most part, I think I would like to see some more consolidation here, but I'd feel comfortable in saying that this is most likely the bottom, and it's just time now before Bitcoin starts to reclaim these higher time frame moving averages. In terms of market breadth indicators, the number of stocks above the 20-day average still holding this 50 mark. It's just kind of chopping around this level, but definitely a sign of resilience. The number of stocks above 1 week highs, no real movement over the past week in terms of the closes, or the opens and close rather. So yeah, just kind of hovering about around this level, and I guess that is around the midpoint. So just another sign of resilience in the market. And again, with the 52-week highs, similarly for the 52-week lows, there's no real major movement, and it seems like prices are stabilizing across the board. The bond yields, government bond yields, are still pushing slightly higher, but it's no major moves like we saw kind of on the Wednesday on FOMC day. But yeah, for the most part, the yields are pushing higher. So that, alongside the dollar index pushing higher, is definitely the one thing that I'd say that I'm a little bit cautious about, or concerned about rather. But for the most part, price is king, and the indices are still showing relative strength for the most part. Maybe not relative strength, but they're showing a form of strength in terms of they're holding their lower time frame moving averages. The 50-day is really key for now for the S&P in particular. If the 50-day does, if we do close below the 50-day, then that'd be a cause for concern. But for now, today's going to be a big day in terms of what the market decides to do. If we can get a close above this 7,500 level, that'd be really key, and that made me feel a lot more confident in terms of the direction of the market moving forwards over this next week.